Hi everyone, I've got Jo with me here today to discuss the results from our first Longreach survey. We reached out to over 200 clients and candidates in the property and construction market here in Perth, and we're here to discuss the results. So let's jump straight in. Okay, Jo, firstly, looking at the responses from job seekers, can you tell us what were some of the main themes from the survey this year?
So for the first time, we are seeing multiple generations in the workforce at the same time. So our survey broke down these responses to reflect what is important to each group. And overwhelmingly, the common theme, which probably reflects the current economic climate, was that money talks. What was also interesting though was the lack of flexibility came up for all generations as a reason for declining an offer. I mean, ultimately, we can't hide the fact that salaries come up multiple times in this survey. And we know this can be really hard to hear because commercially, employers can't just constantly hike up people's salaries. However, I think our advice is just to recommend that you are conducting your regular salary reviews, benchmarking against your competitors in the market, and that's really all you can do.
That's really interesting. What do you think is driving these results?
Absolutely the cost of living. I think we're all thinking about that at the moment, and job seekers are more conscious than ever of money, especially after years of high inflation. So that's certainly one. I think in addition to that, we live in WA, where ultimately the resources sector drives our economy and we compete for candidates where salary is a priority. Then there's the housing crisis. So with the cost of living combined with the housing crisis, we're seeing that candidates are living further and further away from their place of work. And that's really adding fuel to the fire of people requesting hybrid working and just flex in general.
Were there any surprises in the results that we saw?
Definitely a few surprises. I think the mismatch between what companies are offering and what job seekers want was the first one. At the moment, job seekers are pretty savage. There's things like environmental impact and community outreach that employers are doing amazing things in. There's so many initiatives, but they're just not holding weight with the decisions when it comes to accepting a job. The other thing would be workplace culture. So this was another big surprise for us because from the survey results, most employers think that people are choosing them for their workplace culture, but that actually placed third in what was important to candidates when accepting a job. So this was a real surprise to us because we're constantly having conversations about how important culture is.
That's some really interesting points around culture because I think that is so important for candidates at the moment. So what do you think are the main takeaways for employers?
I think companies need to understand and recognise the gaps. So what they're offering and what job seekers are actually prioritising, they need to be closer aligned. An interesting stat from the survey was that the difference between candidates' expectations being 10 to 20K above what they're currently earning and what companies are actually willing to offer, that's closer to 5 to 10K. So there's quite a disparity, and I think that's something that employers really need to take away from this survey, especially when counter-offers are rife. We're seeing so much of this, and 27% of candidates within this survey were actually offered to stay with their company for more money. So that's when we hope that those secondary reasons for joining a company, whether it be their culture, their additional benefits, etc., will really play into their decision making. And then flexibility. If flexibility isn't a part of your current offering and you're struggling to find or retain great talent, then we would definitely recommend this as being something to review and come up with a new policy for your business.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think there's some really great insights from the survey results that we've got today. So thank you, Jo, so much for joining me. We could probably talk about this for hours, but that is all we have time for today. If you, however, would like more information about our survey results, you can reach out to myself or to Jo or to your Longreach consultant. Thanks for watching.